What if I told you the Jordan Dawson trade to Adelaide benefited Adelaide, Sydney, and Port Adelaide? Let's get stuck into it. First of all, like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy the content. If you agree or disagree, let me know in the comments. Would love to have a chat. This is Daz Talk Sports, and I will be talking mostly footy and cricket, but other things in there as well. Fingers crossed you stick around. Now, Jordan Dawson finished third in Sydney's best and fairest this year. He's an elite outside player, metres gained, and can kick goals. Now, when he announced that he was going home to South Australia, it looked like Port Adelaide were going to be the club to get him there for a tick. However, he is going to go to the Crows. Now, let's start with why it benefits Sydney. Sydney are going to get pick 23 out of this deal, it looks like. Potentially, they might have to give up their pick 67, but at the end of the day, it is pick 67. And for all those in the comments that are going, James Hird was at 78, he's the exception, not the rule. You don't expect your pick 67 to be a superstar, and even if you do give up that pick 67 and they're a champion, it's pick 67, 67. You're not going to get crucified for it anyway. But Sydney are going to bring in pick 23, and they're going to have 12, 23, 31, and that 67 in the draft if they don't have to give it up. Now, Sydney don't have a lot of needs when it comes to the draft this year. There are plenty of wants, and I think what they'll be wanting are pieces that can help replace their veterans, most notably Josh Kennedy and Lance Franklin. Now, trying to find the next tall forward to kick 1,000 goals would be ludicrous, and even though they've got Logan McDonald, who I'm a big fan of, and they've got Hayden McLean, who's stuck around, Logan's going to need time to develop, and Hayden McLean's not really your top forward. He could be a second forward potentially, I just haven't seen enough yet. So what the Swans need to do is they probably need to go after the best available in the draft at 12. Now, 12 is a good spot in the draft to take best available because if you're looking for someone to replace Josh Kennedy, they do have midfield depth in the likes of James Rowbottom, Dylan Stevens, especially Callum Mills has taken that next step, and they've still got Lukey Parker. The Swans' midfield is looking okay, but getting some X factor in at 12, even though they've already got Isaac Heaney and Tom Papley, is not the worst thing in the world, and like I said, they've got depth even if something happens to Kennedy and he can't play every game next year. Now, at pick 12, they're probably looking at an Arlo Draper or a Neil Erasmus, which both would be fantastic. They could also look at a Matthew Johnson from Subiaco, who is the exact same height and weight as Marcus Bontempelli when he was drafted. I'm not saying Matty Johnson is going to be the next Bont, but there's a good reference size there. At 23, the Swans are probably going to look at a tall, or I believe that they should look at a tall, and I believe that it should be either a ruckman or a forward. Tom McCartan is very good down back, and they're not lacking in that department. Now, Lewis Melican, he is a decent enough player, and let's face it, centre-half backs are not what really win you premierships. There are, of course, exceptions, but they're not the part of the team that are looked at first. Of course, finding a quality one is going to be great, but Josh Gibkiss is going to be off the board, so we could probably take a key back off that list. At 23, if they do want to go down the ruck path, because Sam Naismith and Callum Sinclair are just iffy at this point. Tom Hickey was a star this year, but can get hurt. Do they go the Toby Conway path? Toby Conway is the Geelong Falcons ruckman, who is a really good tap work player and can also play a little bit forward, although I don't really care about a ruckman's ability to play forward. Max Gawn is the best ruckman in the game, and he's not known for his forward craft, so draft recruiters stop looking out for that. But if they want to go for a tall forward, Jack Williams is going to be around there at that spot, and so will Jacob van Rooyen. Now, Jacob van Rooyen, for WA as well, has played back a little bit, so does that help them there potentially? I personally like Jack Williams as a prospect a little bit better, and has played really well in finals as well. Now, you're looking at pick 31, and the Swans are obviously looking at players with elite foot skills, and the best kick in this draft, in my opinion, or an underrated best kick in this draft, is Zach Taylor. And I believe that if the Swans pick up Zach Taylor at 31, along with the picks we've already talked about, they've absolutely smashed this trade, and I don't think Sydney fans are going to miss Jordan Dawson's impact as much as they think they will. So it's a tick for the Swans. Now, it's a tick for the Crows because they get something that they desperately lack, and that is polish. Paul Seedsman was amazing this year, and Rory Laird was an absolute superstar, although Laird is not the best kick. Adelaide are going to be getting a smooth mover for the next 8 years, considering Dawson turns 24 next year, And everything about this is great. Pick 23 is not really that steep a price, as Adelaide still need to bring in quality youngsters, and Dawson is in the perfect age profile as well. Dawson is a great pickup for Adelaide. Do not get that wrong. Will he go into a more midfield role? It is hard to say, but I do love him and Seedsman on the wings, or him and Tom Doedee as well as Brodie Smith in the half back line. Tom Doedee does get injured a little bit, so they've got that insurance with Dawson, so a huge tick to Adelaide. Now, I know what you're thinking, especially with the intro to this video. How does this help Port Adelaide? Now, I would argue that Jordan Dawson isn't exactly what Port Adelaide need, because there would be a little bit of a fear that Dawson would go down the Zach Williams path of playing a little bit of midfield here and there, and a club trying to develop them into the best midfielder in the competition. It doesn't work like that. Port Adelaide's outside skills are pretty good. Carl Amon should have been an All-Australian wingman, and I will die on that hill, but they need a bit more grunt in the midfield, and they can go and get a grunt midfielder who can work on the outside, and I've got one in mind. Essendon's Dylan Shiel. Now, Adrian Dodoro is going to make Port Adelaide pay way too much for him, so it might not be an option, but Shiel can break from the stoppage, and thanks to Charlie Dixon's ability to take contested marks, Dylan Shiel doesn't need to hit him on the chest with every pass, which is quite good, because Dylan Shiel's not the world's best kick. Now, if Port Adelaide are on the path of wanting the outside player like Dawson, who is an elite metres gained player and a fantastic kick, they need no look further than Jack Lukosius, a local lad like Dawson, who was probably going to want to come back next year after it goes to shit at Gold Coast, because it's Gold Coast. It is probably going to cost Port 2 first-round picks to get Lukosius, but if they're in the premiership window, I mean, they stockpiled first-round draft picks in 2018, 2019, and 2020, and I think they've got their own this year as well, so they've got plenty of young talent in the door, and I think it's a good call. Now, I worry about Port Adelaide's ability to win a final with Charlie Dixon, considering he hasn't kicked 50 goals in a season, but that's a story for another day. If Port Adelaide can bring in a Shiel or a Shiel-type player this year, that is a huge tick, and Lukosius next year, they're way closer to a flag than Adelaide are, and maybe missing out on Jordan Dawson isn't the worst thing in the world. What do you think? Let me know. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time.